Hello there, I'm Robin Tynan, also known as Skeleton Notes, and I'm a watercolour artist and I'm vegan. Now it's January and you may have seen around the place that for the past few years, January has also been known as Veganuary. January? Veganuary. I'm going to stick with Veganuary, that's the one I can say, but who knows? So yeah, vegan watercolour artist for January. This seems like a really good opportunity for me to talk to you about being a vegan watercolour artist, or what you might want to consider as a vegan if you are into watercolours. So I'm going to do 4 videos, one this week and then another 3 throughout January. And we're going to look at a few different aspects of where your veganism might come into play, or things you might want to consider, whether you're vegan already, vegetarian. Some of these actually apply to being vegetarian as well. It's not specifically vegan. Or if you're just interested in it, maybe, or whether you're trying it out for Veganuary or you're just interested and just want to know more. So I'm going to start today with a bit of an introduction and an overview to the whole idea. And then there'll be 3 more videos which go more in depth into particular areas. I'm not going to be going specifically deeply into the ethics or my own personal ethics. I don't really want to debate veganism here. There are so many other places on the internet you can do that. There's tons of it. If that's your jam, go there, do that. This isn't the place. I just want to talk about, if you are interested in veganism and you are a watercolour artist, these are things you want to consider. That's it. We're not looking at the ethics or the whys or the whers. But I do think it's important that we consider a few things when we're looking at this. And the reason I don't really want to debate it either is because nobody is 100% perfect vegan. There is no perfect vegan. There isn't. Even if somebody is super preachy and acts like they are perfect vegan, they are not. Because you can't be, because nobody can be 100% perfect at everything in this world. All our ethics, all our beliefs, they are always up against the world we live in and our own personal circumstances. And we always have to make compromises. It's not a zero-sum game. It's not all or nothing. It's not like you're going, well, either you have to be 100% perfect vegan and completely avoid anything which has ever been near an animal, or there's no point doing it. It's not like one or the other. You don't have to do that. You can be a vegan by conscientiously saying, I don't eat meat, I don't eat other animal products, I don't use products which contain animal products or which involve the use of animals in their creation. And exactly where you draw the line is going to be very personal. Exactly where you draw the line is going to vary from person to person, and that is totally okay. Because there are going to be compromises that you're going to make, and it is going to be based on your own beliefs and your own understanding, and that's fine. So, like for me, one example I can give is that I have to take medication. I have to take daily medication. This is the stash I keep at my desk, at my work desk in my studio. There's also a stash in my coat pocket and in my bag, and then all over my house. I have chronic illnesses. I have to take meds every day. I don't die if I don't take them, but like I'm really not in a good state if I don't. Now, a lot of my meds can, like the standard way they're made, they contain animal products, lactose and gelatin. And I ask if I can have pills and tablets which don't contain gelatin or lactose. And in some cases that's possible. I get an alternative brand or I get a liquid formulation. There are possibilities for me. But with some of my medication, that's just not on offer, that aren't those alternatives available. So my choice is either take the medication which contains the animal products, or don't take it and have some like really severe symptoms and be unable to control my illness. For me, the choice is clear there. I'm going to take my meds. Yeah, they've got a gelatin capsule, but I'm going to take my meds. That is a compromise I have to make. That is an understanding and how I have reconciled my ethics in that case. But on the other hand, I really love painting. Painting is really important to me. It's a big part of my life. It makes me very happy to create and to do art. But it isn't an absolute necessity. So whilst I will do my best to find things which are animal product free, there are going to be times when that's not possible. And in those cases, I just don't use them because I don't need to use them. I don't need to do art. I won't die. I won't suffer horrible ill effects if I don't have these particular products. So it might mean I'm more limited in my selection. It might mean I just don't use certain things. That's okay. So sort of moving more into the actual art side of things, I'm going to be obviously focusing on watercolour. Other mediums may have their own issues, but I don't know them as well. And when I'm talking about water, I'm specifically talking about Western style watercolours and Gansai to a degree. Not really looking at gouache because I don't know as much about it. It's broadly the same as watercolour. I don't think the fillers are animal based, but I can't be certain. And tempera, which is sometimes classed with watercolour. As far as I'm aware, that is always made with egg and therefore is never vegan. So we're not even going to talk about it. I don't use it. I've never used it. It's an outlier. So we're just going to be talking about kind of your traditional standard watercolour mediums. I am going to give some recommendations. We are going to look at some of the brands and things that I use, but this is not going to be a definitive list of every vegan watercolour product out there. It's just going to be some guidance of what to look for, things I found that I like, and things that I use or that I can suggest to you. And I'll talk about why I've chosen those products over other things. I'm looking down at notes. I've got notes. So so to get back on track, vegan watercolour, it's something that maybe a lot of people haven't considered. I have when I have stalls at markets, I have a little sign up saying vegan watercolours. I use vegan watercolours because I know it's of interest to people, and it does draw some attention to the stall, and that's never bad. But you get a lot of people going, I never would have thought of that. And there's animal products in so many things that we just don't consider at all. So when it comes to watercolour, we're looking at paints, paper and brushes. They're the big three things that I'm going to cover in the next few videos. There are other things which can come up as well, like adhesives and tape, boards you're using, other tools you're using, pencils, inks. You know, there's a lot of scope for where animal products can slip in. I either don't have a lot of knowledge about those things, or they are things I've decided that I cannot avoid. I am not able to find alternatives for at all, or the alternatives are so prohibitive that they may as well not exist as far as I'm concerned, like prohibitively expensive or so difficult to get hold of that, you know, I can't go travelling to a different country and trek up a mountain and talk to a specific person and go through a ritual to get a new pencil. I just need pencils. So there might be other things you can consider. There might be other things you know about. And if that's the case, feel free to comment. So things like glue or rubbers, if you happen to know, then yeah, I'm really interested to know about that. that is an area where I tend to be a bit hazy. So I won't be going into a lot of detail about these things. Instead, I'll be going into more detail about these things. Brushes, paints, and paper. What you'll find is that, much like when it comes to food, a lot of products aren't specifically labelled as vegan. That is changing, actually. More and more companies are catching on to this and actually, sticking it on their website or sticking it on their products, because they get so many questions from people going, is your product vegan? Is your product vegan? And they're just going, yes, this product is vegan. But initially, they weren't created specifically to be vegan. It's just that they happen to be vegan because that's the process that they use. They're the ingredients that they use, and they just happen to not contain any animal products. And that's like food. There are so many things we can eat which are not labelled vegan but are still vegan. Like peanut butter or apples or bread or chips. They just are. We don't need to label them. It's fine. It does mean you have to do a little bit of investigation. Sometimes, you might, because things aren't always going to be labelled, because these companies haven't considered it, you do have to do a bit of investigation, check how things are made. This can get tricky, and that's why vegan product guides can be really useful, because when it comes to products like this, companies aren't required to list every ingredient or every material that goes into it. And some of them can keep that information very close to their chest because it's proprietary information they don't want competitors to know. So it's not widely advertised. You have to contact them, you have to email them and say, look, just tell me if this thing is in it. I don't care how you use it, I don't care why you use it, I just want to know if it's there or not. But you can find out that information. Once one person's got it, we can share it. And yes, I will be going into that in more detail in the next few weeks. So for now, I think that's it. I think that's an introduction. We know what we're doing. We know that it's always comes down to your own personal ethics, your own personal choices, depending on your personal situation and circumstances, and that's okay. We know that compromises are going to have to be made. They're always going to have to be made, and that's based on your personal ethics and circumstances, and that's okay. You don't have to be perfect. People are going to judge you. Those people are dicks. We don't like them. You can ignore them. It's fine. I'm not going to judge you because you're doing the best you can with the resources you have, the knowledge you have, and just what you're able to do, and that's fine. A lot of watercolour products aren't vegan, but many of them are. And sometimes they're not labelled as vegan because that's just how they've always been made, without ever considering whether it's vegan or not. And as I said, we will be looking at paint, paper, and brushes. So I will see you again in our next video, which will be a week from now, give or take a day or two. And yeah, have fun, have a good January,